I don't want to get better at guitar in 2023. Let me explain why. I've been playing for 17 years now, and I think it's fair to say I've reached what many would consider to be an advanced level of musicianship. I don't mean to say I'm God's gift to music or anything, but I think I crossed the 10,000 hour mark a few years ago, and as a result, I'm now at this level where learning new things on my own is fairly straightforward. I'm proficient in multiple styles, and I'd say particularly good at a select few. I know the fretboard very well. I understand and know how to apply music theory fundamentals, and the need for a consistent, structured practice routine no longer feels essential for me to make progress. And stick around because I'm going to pivot back to the topic of practice routines later in the video. These are all things that I would say don't apply to intermediates and certainly not beginner guitar players. What I've just mentioned is really the luxury of making it to this level as a guitar player. You've successfully made it out of what I like to call the lost intermediate plateau, where you just haven't got a clue how to make progress, and as a result, you let your skills stagnate for a few years. You've broken free from that rut, and now you can reap the rewards, the luxuries of being a highly skilled guitar player, which should feel great, right? You know, once you've reached a level that you could have only dreamt of when you first picked up the guitar over a decade ago, it should feel incredible to be armed with great technique, mature phrasing, the ability to craft memorable solos on the spot, to get consistently hired for gigs. Once you've made it to the mountaintop, that should be the best feeling in the world. Well, I feel like I've been at this level for, I'd say, at least 5 years now, but just recently I noticed something about my relationship with playing the guitar that when I came to realize it, it hit me like a truck. I haven't had fun playing guitar in a very long time. I mean, truly, I have not felt excited, I would say, for even a minute that I've held the guitar in my hands for, I'd say, 6 months now. That dopamine rush that I used to get when I was 15 and I just discovered a new player on YouTube, and I would rush to grab my guitar to learn everything that I could, and I'd stay up all night practicing and getting excited at the thought of making progress. I have not felt that same rush in so long. And when I had that realization and I thought about why that was, I just had to think about my approach to practice over the past few months. And it was instantly obvious to me the reason why I hadn't had any fun playing guitar. So for the past few months, I was picking up the guitar with the sole intention of getting better, which sounds like what your intention should be. But for me, the reason that I was setting that intention was wrong. I wanted to get better because I had convinced myself that my current skills weren't enough to impress others, that I could never feel satisfied and enjoy the skills that I'd worked hard to obtain over the past 17 years. I'd put so much pressure on myself to constantly strive for the better version of Ross, the guitar player, so that I could enjoy playing guitar at some point in the future. And ultimately, what ended up happening was that I never allowed myself to enjoy playing guitar in the now, in the present moment. So towards the end of last year, I was doing these little 15 to 20 minute practice routines every morning where I would write out a succinct list of bullet points of things that I wanted to cover. And I was going through this very specific, regimented routine of technique, fretboard visualization, and improvisation practice. And when I really think about it, I hated every second of it. It wasn't enjoyable at all because I was going in with the intention of getting better and therefore putting pressure on myself to achieve a particular end result that could only ever be felt in the future. So a week ago, I was about to start one of these routines and I was dreading it. And I ended up going on Spotify and I just so happened to find some music by The Meters. And I heard this song called Just Kiss My Baby, which I'd heard before. And it had this really cool, funky, wah-wah based riff. And I thought to myself, there's a song that you've never really learned before. Why not just give it a go now? And so I dug out my wah pedal and I grabbed my Strat and I proceeded to just learn the bones of the song. And I started jamming along to the track. And after a few minutes, the thought occurred to me, oh, this is fun. Like, I'm actually enjoying this right now. I'm not counting down the minutes until I can put the guitar back down. I'm not ticking things off on a meticulous practice routine list. I was listening to other tracks from the album and taking notes of what I could learn tomorrow because I was actually feeling excited at the thought of picking up my guitar in the morning. I even ended up making a post on Instagram of me just jamming with that riff, and I added a caption that summarized a lot of the thoughts that I've been expressing throughout this video. And I guess that was the birth of the idea for me making a YouTube video about this as well. So since that day, I haven't done a single one of those miserable practice routines. I've only ever picked up the guitar with the intention of having fun. I haven't given up on making progress on the guitar. I've given up putting pressure on myself to do so. I know from experience that structured practice routines do yield great results, but I'm now at a level where I don't feel like I have to do them in order to make progress. If I pick up the guitar each day and set the intention of purely enjoying my time with the instrument before I even play the note, I can trust that in the process I will get better anyway. Over the pandemic, I wanted to get better at blues improvisation. I had been playing blues music since I was a teenager, but I only felt confident soloing over the 1 chord, and I would kind of freak out when the 4 and 5 chords arrived. So I knew that that was a weak point that I had to address. Now I feel really confident playing over those chord changes, and I actively embrace them in my solos. But I didn't get to that point by going through a structured practice routine. All I did over that 2-year period was I just learned solos from my favorite blues players. I analyzed what they did over those chords and I tried to replicate it in my own solos. I enjoyed that process. It was fun for me, and it wasn't structured or super disciplined. I didn't once say, okay, I'm going to practice X for this amount of time and then move on to Y for 25 minutes and set timers and things like that. I didn't do any of that. I just played and I learned. And now I can look back at old videos of me on my channel from a year or 2 years or 3 years ago, and I'll wince at some of my note choices or my timing, and I'll realize that I've made progress without even focusing on improving those aspects of my playing. It just happens naturally as you mature and continue to play. So that just goes to show that once you reach a certain level, the idea of the perfect practice routine isn't always going to be essential for growth. I'm not saying this to demonize the idea of practice routines at all. It's just that for me personally, at this point in my own journey, I feel like I will make the most progress in 2023 if I stop chasing the better version of me and instead choose to focus on enjoying playing the guitar each time that I pick it up. So by all means, do the structured practice routines, strive for progress, but don't forget to have fun too. My name is Ross Campbell. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe for more, and I hope to see you in the next one.